tests and trials. The first person to be martyred in Islam was a woman, Sumayya radiallahu ta'ala anha. And throughout history, our sisters have faced tests and trials that are unimaginable. And sometimes the brothers don't realize what type of tests and trials the sisters go through. Simply the act of putting on a hijab and living in a non-Muslim society is difficult. And it's a type of difficulty that a guy will probably never understand. That when you walk out in society, people immediately judge you based off of what you're wearing on your head. Immediately thinking that, you know what, you're probably oppressed. You're probably ignorant. And they begin to feel sorry for you. Those are the tests and trials. The test and trial of being out there and people feeling pity for you when you never asked for their pity. People telling you that, you know what, maybe you're oppressed. People trying to enlighten you. Saying, listen, yeah, we know, we feel sorry for you. The only reason you're wearing this hijab is because you haven't been enlightened yet. You haven't been freed yet. My sisters, this is not easy. And indeed, the life of a Muslim woman will not be easy. But the point, my sisters, is not for me to bring you the bad news. The point is for me to bring you good news. And the good news is that with each test and trial, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to bring you closer to Him. So every time you go through a hardship, whether it's because of you practicing your religion, or you giving up something for the sake of Islam, in every test and trial that you go through as a Muslimah, realize that there is reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a lot of times, you may be way ahead of the brothers in the reward, because the reality is, brothers at times have it a lot easier than sisters in certain situations. A lot of times, brothers don't get the same don't get the same reactions that the sisters get. And realize that with each test, with each trial, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving you the opportunity to come back to Him. And I know that each one of your tests and your trials are different. And it's not just about the hijab. You may have tests and trials with your spouses. You may have tests and trials with your in-laws. You may have tests and trials with your family. You may have tests and trials in your communities. You may have tests and trials with trying to practice your religion. You may have tests and trials in attending a university, in trying to work, and trying to provide for your family. All of these tests and trials, my brothers and my sisters, is an opportunity for you to get rewarded from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is how, inshallah ta'ala, you will attain your paradise. And this is how, my sisters, you will be, inshallah ta'ala, from those who are in front of others when entering into paradise. And this is an opportunity, like I said, a lot of times the brothers have not been given this type of struggle, this type of trial. And realize that with each test and each trial, that you are not alone. That the ummah today is full of our sisters going through tests and trials. If you look at any part of the world today, and I have no qualms in saying this, if you look at any part of the world today, there are Muslim women going through tests and trials, whatever their trials may be. But you are not alone. You are part of this whole struggle, the struggle of this whole ummah. And not only that, you're not alone in this generation. Each generation before you had their tests and trials, and the generation before them had their tests and trials, and the generation before them, even the wife of Adam alayhi salam had her tests and trials, the first woman to be created. So my sisters, I want to use this last part, these few minutes, to encourage you to put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He is testing you, He wants good for you. He wants you to come back to Him. And don't be like that person who, when they see a test or trial, they give up. Because when people are faced with tests or trials, they go one of two ways. Either they come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or they go further away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make all of you, my sisters and my brothers, those that recognize the test of Allah Azza wa Jalla. On top of that, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who recognize the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are all around us, and for us to be thankful for those blessings. لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. And if you were thankful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would increase you in what He has already given you. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إن الله أمركم بالصلاة والسلام على نبيه وقال إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. وارض اللهم عن الخلفاء الراشدين أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وعن سائر الصحابة وآل البيت الطيبين الطاهرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن الله يأمركم بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. واذكروه يذكركم واشكروه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
محمد بس الجاكيت. Oh God.